Well, happy Feast of the Annunciation, everybody. It's really interesting that this feast day, if we look at it liturgically, comes right in the middle of Lent. And it always falls in the middle of Lent. So it's kind of fascinating to me because it's a feast that is filled with so much revelation and brightness and lightness and joy. And I remember when we were in the monastery, we would celebrate this feast day and pull out all the stops. It was one of the only days in the Lenten fast in that really flowers were brought out and cloths were brought out to put on the altar and all our other stands. And we talked at table. There were all of these unique ways that we celebrated the Feast of the Annunciation. But in addition to that, I'm not sure how you feel connected to the Annunciation, or even if you're familiar with the feast day, but it was my religious name. So this day carries an additional brightness of wedding bells for me. There's still an effervescence that if someone were to say my former religious name, Sister Annunziata, I hear it. I hear these etheric wedding bells that fill my heart with joy and with a sense of knowing that I'm beloved. So it's a brilliant day. And it's all about, if you look at the meaning of the word annunciare, it's all about announcing the good news. And in the historical or mythological story, whatever, however we want to situate this annunciation that happens in the Christian text, what we have happen is a reciprocal announcing of good news. So if you know the story, it's a time when Mary is in solitude. We don't know how old she is or what she's doing. There's lots of conjectures on all of these things. There is the expectation that she's probably in a deep state of presence because the angel Gabriel appears to her. And as he appears to her, he doesn't really call her by her name. He calls her by the quality of her being. Hail, full of grace. There in the beginning of this account, we have an announcing. And the announcing is of good news. But what is that good news? What is that? What would that have been like for Mary to have heard those words spoken of her? Now it says she was troubled. That's one translation. Disturbed is another. Stirred is another word. Because it was such an overwhelmingly positive affirmation, she probably, like most of us, would be a little bit disbelieving. However, the encounter continues, which says to me that she knew the truth of what was said. And she then, in that truth, became a container wherein the whole account could take place for us. And this announcing of the good news has a process to it, because I think if one person could hear that utterance, hail full of grace, it necessarily means every point of creation is either fully actualized as full of grace or is in motion towards being full of grace. And in that encounter, what's interesting is she's told that she is going to be pregnant with God. So the good news comes with an insemination. Where in your own life have you heard an utterance that spoke so deeply to your being that you were inseminated with divinity? This feast is about opening up to our divine nature as full of grace, and to opening up to ever new inseminations of God, so that we ourselves walk through the world as God bearers. And as a God bearer, we have the final part of announcing the good news that Mary, by her actual life, even more than any of the words we have attributed to her, by her actual life, bears God. So this day is pretty pregnant, isn't it? Let's open up to that pregnancy for ourselves and for all creation, that a new birth, and especially juxtaposed with the overwhelmingly high amount of retraction and contraction and fear and anxiety that's touching the deep heart of humanity right now. That's happening because wherever there's fear, there's not a pregnancy with the divine, right? If there were pregnancy with the divine, if there were the clarity of being full of grace, we would come to our full birthright and we would be bearers of God in such a way that we would be a healing force by our very lives. So let's open to being that healing force. And let's note that there's probably a good chance that that quality itself is quite feminine. All right, so for this morning's devotional, I'm going to take one of the very short antiphons from the feast day of March 25th. I invite you to close your eyes as I close mine with such gratitude. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Dominus tecum, benedicta tu in mulieribus. This morning's devotional is opening up to the etheric realms wherein we can be touched by entities like the angel Gabriel. And so I invite you to bring your awareness to your body wherever you may be sitting at this time. And to notice that your physical body is anchoring you. Come into the immediacy that you are much more than your body. And bring your inward gaze now down to the area of the womb, the second chakra. In energy words, this is a place of power in this world of relationship. And I would like you to either sense or imagine, for I am calling in, that the angel Gabriel is among us, or whatever this entity embodies for you. And this angel stands formidable, yet gentle. And this angel or entity touches the area of your second chakra to awaken you out of your personal story that is concerned with power and relationship here into your divine story of empowerment. And if you will, sense or imagine that Mary, or the energetic body of what Mary represents, stands behind you. She is standing behind you. And her presence is vast, like she herself is a divine cloak. Allow yourself to hear the utterance of Mary and Gabriel towards you. Hail, full of grace. And in these words, allow the womb and the second chakra to open to healing, where there's misalignment with power in this world, where there's misalignment in relationship through trauma. Allow the grief, discouragement, loss to all be touched in this devotional. And as we bring this devotional to a close, whether you experienced inner shifting or not, know that it is happening for you. And you are on the road of awakening fully to the fullness of your grace, to the insemination of God, that you can be 100% a God bearer. And wherever you may fall on the spectrum, that itself is full. So let's collectively make the intention today that we'll live into our birthright as God bearers. In that way, a saving balm can wash through humanity in its moments of desperation right now. I end with the Alma, a powerful Marian anthem. Alma, Redemptoris Mater, cui per via celi portamanes, et stella maris, succurre cadenti, surgere qui curat popula, tuque genuisti, natura mirante, tuum sanctum genitorem, Virgo prius, ac posterius, Gabrielis apode, sumensidur ave, peccatorum miserere. I invite you to open your eyes and to meet the day with the joy that's inherent in this kind of awakening. Great to be with you all. Mwah!